Here. Hi, ladies. How are you? You guys are so fun. So nice to see everyone. Good. Good. I know Steve said summer's over. I'm like, it's not over. It's half over. It's half over.
Good evening and welcome. Can we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Should state for the record, this is the regular public meeting of the North Brunswick Township Board of Education for Wednesday, July 26th, 2023. Could we get a roll call, please?
Yes. Mr. Ali.
Present.
Mr. Brockman. Mr. Carter.
Here.
Ms. James.
Here.
Ms. Keefe.
Here.
Mr. Liguori.
Here.
Dr. Patel.
Here.
Ms. Toth.
Here.
And Mr. Wen.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the Open Public Meetings Law, the public notice of this meeting, which included the time, date, and location, was distributed by 3 p.m. on Sunday, January 29th, 2023 in the following manner. Posted on the bulletin board reserved for announcements in the board office, 25 Linwood Place, North Brunswick. Mailed to the Home News Tribune, the Sentinel, and the Clerk of the Township of North Brunswick, and delivered to the 9 duly elected board members. We do have 2 presentations this evening, and at this point I'll turn it over to Mrs. Shiroka.
Thank you very much, Mr. Liguori. I'm very excited tonight to present a presentation by our members of our police department and administrative staff on the Power After School Initiative. And I'm going to go get the presentation ready for you, and Officer Adrian Ailey and Tangi Cobb and Altagracia, right, Ruiz. If you guys can come on up, and we'll have you guys start presenting.
Hello, everyone. How are you?
Good, how are you? She's so cute. Whoever wants to start. And Allie, you just have to sort of put it in the way. You just do not get that close, you can be further away. All right. And that second microphone works.
All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Officer Adrian Ailey. We have, like Miss Janet Shiroka said, the superintendent, Ali Ruiz from the high school, Tangi Cobb, also from the police department, and Al Rich, a mentor at the high school. So I just want to say thank you for giving us this opportunity for us to come speak to you guys. On behalf of the entire North Brunswick Police Department, our officers who are here in the back, Chief Joseph Battaglia, we just want to say thank you. We truly are grateful for this opportunity to serve our community with our youth. So I just want to express that from the beginning. So power, it started from a conversation, proactively orchestrating ways to empower and restore our youth. This conversation began between Officer Renee Gordon, Officer Salvador Romero, who are not here today with us. The conversation expanded, and it included Tangi Cobb, Ms. Ruiz, and Mr. Rich. Through their conversation, we were at a time where how we could bridge the gap between community, youth, and our police department. And during that conversation, this was about June of 2022, their conversation expanded on how we could start potentially a federal grant. So in June of 2022, they applied for this grant, and then also with the approval of our chief and the superintendent, we wanted to simultaneously do this program at the middle school and the high school respectively. So during that time, we decided how we were going to be met, the 4 of us, and also Ms. Darch, who is not here with us today, we met on how we were going to devise a curriculum and a game plan on how we were going to impact the youth in this town. And during that, we fostered great conversation on how we were going to implement this curriculum. And so we started last school year at the middle school and the high school respectively. We met each month with them. And throughout the course of our time during this program, we saw successes, and we also saw a hope and for our vision for the future. So with that being said, again, I just want to say thank you guys for giving us this opportunity to come here and speak to you. And I'm going to pass it to Tangi Cog, who's going to speak about our vision and our successes that we've had this past year.
I get nervous when I have to hold the microphone, so I'm going to put it down. And I'm going to speak as loud as I can. So thank you so much for inviting us here today. I kind of feel a little bit like a fish out of water because I'm accustomed to being on a soccer field or a basketball court wearing some sneaks and some shorts and a nice t-shirt, nice comfortable t-shirt. But it feels good to be all dressed up and grown. So what you see on the screen is the actual statement that was included on the grant that we wrote for the OJJDP Department of Justice. And it says, I just want to read it because I just wanted you to hear the impact. Just because it hasn't happened here in North Brunswick Township doesn't mean that it can't. And this is the phrase that plays on repeat in the minds of North Brunswick Township students, staff, residents abroad, joining forces with North Brunswick Township School District, families, and other specific dedicated professionals and community leaders will aid in our efforts to curtail the incidence of youth violence in our schools and communities. Through the Power Initiative, North Brunswick Township Police and School District will demonstrate, execute, and create an atmosphere where youth feel safe, encouraged, and are empowered to be active participants in their own restoration. So, in talking with Ms. Ruiz, Mr. Rich, Ms. Darge, we learned that there were several students who were in behavioral distress. They're not bad students, so I intentionally don't use that language. They are in behavioral distress because of their circumstances, their environments, their limitations, whether those limitations are economic, whether there are language barriers, whether there are disability, whether it's a mental instability. There is distress, and we needed to do something about it. And when speaking with Ms. Ruiz, Mr. Rich and Ms. Darge and Sal and I, when I came across this particular grant, which was the Stop School Violence, Reducing School Violence, the Capacity of School Violence, Student Violence in the Schools, that's what it was. That was the title of the grant. And I said, let's apply for this grant. Well, we did not get the grant, but when we went into our open discussions, we went in with the understanding that whether we got this federal money or not, this program was going to go forward. Now, luck would have it that I happen to be a singer, so I sang at the Democratic rally in East Brunswick last year, and Assemblyman Pallone was there, and he was the one who spoke so vividly about this particular grant. You've got to apply for this grant. I mean, they were really pushing for it. I was like, oh, they must really want to give this money our way. So let's apply for this grant. So when I saw him at the rally, I said, you know, I applied for that grant that you preached about, and we didn't get it. I said, I'm only bringing this up because nobody in New Jersey, in the state of New Jersey, got that grant. I said, that's a problem for me. He said, that really is a problem. He said, send me your narrative, send me your stuff so I can. And I said, I didn't get any feedback on why we didn't get the grant either. So I didn't like that part either, and I let him know that. So luck would have it that a couple of weeks later, we got a response of why we didn't get the grant. But, so that just gives us pointers, so the next time it comes around, we will nail that sucker. But when we spoke, we said we were going to move forward with this program anyway. Go to the next slide. I don't want to get off topic because I can do that very easily. I'm glad I printed this out because I can't see that far. All right, so the after-school initiative, we have two emblems. You'll see one is just the after-school power initiative, and the second one says Power You. There's a U in there. So the after-school initiative, we basically were following the established format that exists with the RISE, the STAR, and the ABBIT programs, which I'm sure you're all already familiar with. And we wanted to explore an Ohio-based curriculum, which constitutes the whole child framework. And I want to read to you because I included that in the grant. The whole child framework, it supports a varied system of assessment that allows students to demonstrate academic competency and mastery in ways beyond curriculum and state standardizations. It acknowledges local choice in gauging non-academic knowledge and skill. This practice will instill value and purpose and aid in the redirection process for students who are facing behavioral distress. This was a very important component of our Power initiative. Because our students, while we in their minds focus on their shortcomings, we kind of miss the mark on what they actually can bring to the table. Mm-hmm. So we wanted to focus on the whole student, and we said, how in the world are we going to do this? And we said, the first thing we have to do is we got to get them talking. We got to restore this communication. We have to make them feel comfortable using their words. No, they're not perfect words, but the more that we exchange, the better they will be. They will get closer to where they should be. That is one of the things that we definitely talked about. So, and engaging and exploring, implementing and redirecting. Those are all of the programs that we put together, the initiatives, the activities, the icebreakers, you name it. All of the things that Ms. Darge, Ms. Ruiz, and Mr. Rich came up with, we used all of those things to encompass in every one of the sessions that we did at the middle school and at the high school. And then the cultivation and recognition. So we sit down and we talk. I mean, we just talk. We cultivate the environment that we're in. We infuse music, we infuse humor, and we infuse real life situations. One of the very first sessions that we did was Think Like a Cop. You remember that? It was Think Like a Cop, and it was at the high school. And the students were so rigid. Oh my God, it was so funny. First, you have all these cops standing there. They're pretty much in line just like they are back there. I think that's just what they do. So we're gonna think like a cop. We want you to think like a cop. So you get to wear a cop's shoes today. And once they finally opened up to the situations, we gave each one of the groups a scenario. And one of the scenarios was, you came home and your front door is wide open. What are you going to do? You're the cop, and let's think about all of the citizens who are around in that neighborhood. What's going through their minds? But you're the cop. So the cop, his job is to do what? We had to get them talking. What's the cop's job? So I'm gonna do it with you. What's a cop's job? What do they do? What's their purpose?
Protect and serve.
Absolutely. To protect you as the citizen. So that's my main job as a cop. So when you get home and this person sees that their door is wide open, what's the first thing they want to do? Kid goes, I'm going right in. I got to make sure somebody's all right. But a cop grabs you. Somebody is standing to the left with a cell phone recording the whole thing. And the person that the cop is grabbing, he's actually trying to protect them and hold them so that they don't run into the house. Because what? Why don't you run into the house?
Maybe an unknown threat.
Absolutely. You don't know what the threat is. The cop doesn't even know what the threat is, so he has to protect you. But because somebody has pulled out a cell phone, began to record, and they only see one side of the story, now these cops have been judged unfairly already, right? And their job has been made even more difficult. Now, once you understand that as a resident, you begin to see things completely different. And the children did too. So when they began to sit down and discuss what they should be doing if they were thinking like a cop, it was magical, I would say. It was magical. I wish you could have been there to see it. Their brains working, their eyes actually lighting up, and it was almost like stimulants. You could just see the neurons. It was really great. But that was one of the things that we did, you know, with the high school students as well as with the middle school students. So now let's flip to the summer mentorship. We did learn that the middle school students were a bit more of a challenge than the high school students.
We could have told you that.
Oh my God. I was like, it's been a minute. My kids graduated in 2016 and 2018, but I was like, oh my goodness. So we got together and we discussed that those kids who were leaving the middle school, going to the high school, we wanted to create a summer week just for them. So we didn't have the funding for it, but you know, I went to the corner, no, I'm just kidding. We went to our corporate partners and we got some sponsors so that we could feed those kids because they were going to be in under our care for more than 3 hours, and that's a rule. You know, you got to feed them, but you don't have them that long. Those 8th graders going into the 9th grade, coming into the high school, that very first day, there was probably about 5 of them who came begrudgingly. But by the end of that week, that 4-day period, we had a room full of students, and they were saying, what are we doing next? They were ready for the next thing. What's next? And I got to tell you, I really felt horrible because I didn't feel like I had let them down because I told them what the deal was. And that's the other part of our communication. We're going to be real. This is a safe space, and we're going to be real about what we said. And I told them, I said, if we had more money, more resources, we could do more. I said, but you have a voice. So if this is something that you like to do, you tell somebody because your voice matters and there's power in that voice. So we got that message across, luckily. So yeah. But go ahead. I want to pass it over to Ms. Ruiz to just share a little bit. Yeah, she's going to need it.
Yeah, so it goes through the TV.
I'm sorry, I lost my voice this weekend. It was my mother's wedding. It was a great time. So if you don't already know me, my name is Ali Ruiz, like Ms. Roca said, Altagracia. And I am honored to be part of the Power team. I don't think that this is going to convey as much as we would want it to, because the work that this team puts together is so powerful. The reason we are called Power is because it is a powerful word. When we respect children, children respect us back. Children who are in emotional or behavioral distress look for respect. Those 2 kids, those 2 students that were in our program in the summer mentorship, the first day, what was the whole thing? What did they want? Respect. We asked them, what do you want from your community? What do you expect from the adults coming into this building at the high school? And all of them said, we want to be respected. And it really got me thinking, because how is it that they are the ones, I don't want to say labeled, right? But they were selected because they, have issues. They're the ones labeled, and they're the ones that feel disrespected. So it's very powerful that the students understand that we respect them, that we understand where they're coming from. To echo what Ms. Tangi was saying about, getting to their level, it's not about us becoming, a child or something like that. It's about listening. It's about responding to what they're saying and really making connections. That is the key. It's a struggle because, as you know, there's been some hardship in this district with some students that we've lost. Personally, it's affected me. And what is missing is connections. This is all based on connections. We make connections with them because we get to know who they really are, what are their real interests, and what are things that they're really struggling with. They're not going to walk into every classroom and find the connection with every teacher. And we teach them that. We talk about that and how to overcome that. So to hit on the 3 pillars of our summer mentorship program, proactive, empowerment, and restoration. If they don't know what they just don't know a lot of things. So they need to be proactive, but they don't know how to be proactive because they don't have that person to show that to them, right? And I wish that we could have done this for, the 500 kids that are coming to the high school and be this proactive, but it would take a lot. But it's very important because if they're proactive and they know what they're looking for, they will be empowered. And if they are empowered, they are restored. There is a disconnect between the word restoration or restorative practices. People think it's something that you fix. Restorative practices is not something that you fix. Restorative practices is based on a good foundation. Foundation means that you create these circles, these talking circles. It's all based around communication, connections. When you run these circles and people are sharing their stories and they're talking about their likes and dislikes, you make connections, you make that foundation strong. If the student does not know you, has no connection to you, they will not work for you. We all know that, right? So that was very important for us. The restorative circles, that's how we opened our day, that's how we ended our day. It was amazing. The team building activities that were created mostly by Mr. Rich and Ms. Darge were so good. Everything that we did in the summer mentorship program, the kids were highly engaged. And of course, the understanding of their own strengths. They took a personality test, and they also were very engaged. Ms. Darge will continue to work with them during the year, based on what they filled out on their personality test. And of course, navigating new surroundings, because we did take them around the high school. I timed them to go from one class to the next class, because these are the kids that are gonna get referrals, and I'm just being real, that are gonna get referrals for being late to class, for cutting class, and saying that they don't know how to get somewhere. So, I'm a dean, right? So I know.
They're going to end up in your office, yes.
There's no excuse. So I timed them. I said, now you have 5 minutes. Last year was only 4, so now you have a little bit extra time. So, I'm not saying that it's going to completely take away all the issues, but it definitely helps to be proactive and restorative in that sense.
All right, so the mechanics of every session that we did, she told me we started with an open-ended question. And there's some examples of those questions. Now, when we first started with this, the open-ended question was one word. I said, how do you answer a question with one word? Okay. That's all you got? Yeah, that's all I got. All right, that's all you got. I can't force you to give me more. But work on it though. That's what we said to them. So one of the questions we asked was, I wish my community had, and all they had to do was finish it. And so some of the responses from the high school I picked the responses that matched, that were the same. More caring adults, more things for my family to do, a skate park, a volleyball court, no drugs in the school, a rec center to hang out with my friends, cooler leaders, parades and things to do to bring everyone together. Now this came from the middle school kids, 7th and 8th graders, and the high school kids. So these are kids who have trouble communicating, but they know that something in their community is not right. My relationship with my parents, that needs to be better. What I'm getting from my community, I need more. What I'm getting in my schools, I'm not quite feeling that. So they know. They were able to share that in fewer words, but as we progressed, it became more words. And we began to have open discussions about challenges that they were facing. They began to share with us those. And then we had the small tactical group discussions where we broke them up into smaller groups, because not everybody can speak you know, in large arenas. And that was very pivotal because they were working, they actually got to pick the police officer that they wanted to be connected to. So it's like, why would you do that? Well, the visual that you have of a person tells you a whole lot about that person before they even open their mouth. That's called body language, right? You tell them all about body language all the time. So they were picking officers based off of purely body language because they didn't know anything else about them. And for them to come together the way that they did and begin to break down walls and barriers, it was really, really exciting. And then, of course, that's the cultivation part. We got to break bread together and sit down and just talk with no filters. The summer portion, we opened with sharing circle. We verbalized our expectations and our challenges. We did icebreaker activities, and we did the navigation of time management. That's what she did when she walked around the school. And our successes, like I said, the attendance, it increased. The dialogue exchange became much better. The responses to the questions became more than one word. They were actually complete full sentences. And we improved their mindset about what they thought about the police officers and the teachers in their communities. Yeah, their thoughts were beginning to change because they began to see them as individuals who actually were there to help. And communication and trust. This one is very important because there was one particular student, when we were doing we were asked a question and you either agree, you strongly disagree, you disagree, you had to just go to your corner. There was one kid who strongly disagreed. He was the only one there who strongly disagreed. And I said, wow, you're the only one standing there and you're not moving, you're not changing. What is that about? And he kind of gave a little something, something. And I said, is it about trust? And he went, bingo. He didn't trust anybody. I don't care what. But by the fourth day of the initiative, he was hugging us goodbye, saying, is this going to be here for after school when school starts? Absolutely. The POWER program will be an after school initiative at the high school because they were at the middle school and they were like, yep, we'll be at the high school too. And he was very excited about that. So I was glad we could at least, tell him that. And what's up next for us? We want this initiative to continue after school, definitely. In order for us to do that, we know that we need to engage corporate sponsorships. So if there are any board members who work at some nice companies, J&J, Bristol-Myers Squibb, Colgate-Palmolive, wherever you work, if there is an outreach initiative that you can write a letter about, please do so because we need it. We cannot wait for grant dollars because the grant process is great, but it is time consuming and it is long and you have to wait for it to come to you because you can go and look for it, but you'll be looking forever. So we need corporate sponsorships. So if there's anything you can do to help in that regard, call the system. Expand the summer mentorship. We would love to expand that to be more than just the 4 days. And the kids have expressed that as well. We're not getting paid anything extra, not even looking for anything extra. I'm there because I said I would be and because I know the need is great. And the adults that are with me are of the same mindset. And then the focus on family involvement beyond the permission slip. We want to figure out how we open dialogue with these parents. Some of the kids who did not come, we had to make calls on that very first day. One parent forgot, and I think there was another parent who said, well, I have triplets and you only sent the permission slip for one. I ain't gonna send one and I send the other two. So she was like, well, bring the other two. I know my mom would have been like, well, you both going. Everybody's going. Come on, everybody. My mom was taking everybody, but we wanted to go beyond the permission slip. So on August the 22nd of next month, on August the 22nd, we're having a community event that is driven by the police department, but that happens to be the same day as the high school orientation, freshman orientation. So we want to kind of invite those parents to come to Veterans Park before the orientation to have some food, and we want to get this information from them for the kids who are entering high school. Tell us what you know about your kids. Tell us what is going to help us help that kid and help you, and ultimately help our community. So in order for us to do this, we've got to, sometimes you have to go back to the old school way of doing things, but then you also have to use your new way of technology as well. So we're in a pivotal area where we can just do both. So food and music is universal. We're gonna feed you and we're gonna have a little fun. So come on out to the community event. Meet some teachers, meet some police officers. Let's get to know one another. And while you're here, let's talk about your kid and what your expectations are for the school year for them and how we can be a part of that and make it successful. So that's our plan for for August the 22nd with these questions that we're sending out to those parents who are going to be coming. Hello, did I turn it on?
Is the green light on?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
So I want to expand a little bit on what Ms. Tangi said and Officer Ailey said earlier. The whole premise of power is not just two entities. It's not two stakeholders. It's not just the school district and the whole premise is that it's everyone. It's all stakeholders, including the parents. We hope that with the expansion of the program that the parents will get more involved. But right now, our growth is, cultivating those students that, are going to be engaged in the program with the school district, with the police officers, so then we can get more parent involvement as well. It is a key component. And the whole reason the conversation even started was because I was having a difficult time communicating with parents, with students that, had high percentage of referrals. And I'm like, why are the parents not, getting involved? And I know other districts where I lived before and where I've worked before, that's the biggest issue, parent involvement, lack of parent involvement. And the students' behaviors are just, not positive, right? So we really, really want to get to that point where we get that increased parent involvement and the student and PD and the school. Because in order for us to help cultivate that whole child, we need to address all aspects of that child.
And advance to the next slide. So this was when we introduced it, we knew we had to do something to gain the attention of the kids. So our theme song is "We Got the Power." That one. And this was the artwork that came with it. So it basically just says that this space that we're going to be in, it is a safe space. And our focus is you. That's why I see you is there. And when we see you, that means we're going to listen to what you have to say. And we're here to aid you in understanding and loving yourself. That's why self-love is there. And then we tell them that in order for us to hear you and understand you, once we're able to do that, then we're going to give you the confidence to empower and engage so that you can make things better in your world. And this is called just taking action. And when you do that, that means you are heard. That's why it says, hear me. And we do all of this in a chill, relaxed environment. And that is power in a nutshell. That's power in a nutshell. The last slide is just some visuals of how we started and how we ended. The very last, that really big picture is the culmination ceremony that we had at Veterans Park that brought together the middle school and the high school students to engage with one another and to talk, to eat and laugh and talk. And the one right next to it was the culmination of Summer Power You, the summer initiative that we had. All in all, the one thing that is steady is we are North Brunswick, and it is up to all of us. We are vetted, we are here, we're not going anywhere, whether we have funds or not. We just could do so much more. So I want to thank you for giving us this opportunity to come and share the Power Initiative, what it does, what it is, and what it can become. So thank you for your time. Do you have any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. So my mom was a police officer in Plainfield for 30 years before she passed, and she worked with CIB, youth. She was a DARE leader. So I grew up in the police station and around it for the good reasons, and this is needed so much. And I just want to say thank you, because this is why I do my research around this. I do all my scholarship. So I'm so excited to see what happens, and keep going.
Thank you. We even have some kids who we ask, when you graduate from high school, what do you think is going to happen? What are you thinking? One kid said, oh, I'm going to college. And the other one was like, oh, I'm not going to college. I said, well, what are you going to do? You got to do something. You can't just sit there. And he gave me this look. I said, think about it. Look at there. Think about it. You got time. I don't want to scare them, but I want to empower them, and I want to motivate them at the same time. So it's a very even, a very thin beam that we're balancing on when it comes to that. Because if you tilt too much one way, you lose them. And if you don't tilt enough the other way, they're not motivated and they stay stagnant. So we're in a very pivotal area, I would say. Mr. Rich, is there anything you'd like to say?
Yeah, and I would want to introduce Mr. Alvin Rich. He's a parent of 2 graduates from North Brunswick High School. He's a community member, and he works at our high school. And, I don't know how many of you know Mr. Rich, but he works as a mentor for our students, and that's his role at the high school is to build relationships and be there and help guide them and into something that they may need.
Well, I just want to thank you all for having us. And
You pick it up. Just because Tangi doesn't like it doesn't mean you don't have to.
He's too tall to not like it.
as a mentor, I see myself as a role model, as a person to give guidance, as a person that empowers every student that I deal with. But the most important thing is making that connection. And I make that connection by telling my story. All of us up here, that's sitting up here, each and every one of us has told our story to the young people in front of us. Once we tell them our story, they open up to us. Then they feel more comfortable telling us about who they are and what they aspire to be. I tell people all the time, this is the best job in the world. I feel like this is my passion. My passion is to help young people. I grew up in New York City. I'm a product of a single mother from the New York City public school system. And my mom struggled, but my mom went back to school, became a nurse, and I watched that. And my mom just helped empower me and helped just put that strength in me to want to help others. And now that I'm in a position to help young people, I feel like I tell my wife every night that I come home, every day I come home, this is the best job in the world. And I'm not going to stop until I touch as many kids as I can. And I love what we're doing with Power. I feel we touched base on it a little bit, but I would like to, once we get that child, I want to focus on getting the families involved, getting the parents involved. Because what I've noticed being in the school in the short amount of time that I've been in there, some of the parents, there's some things that they don't know. And I feel, by us having these power circles, I think the parents, we all can learn from each other. And I love when we pass the talking piece around and everyone gets to speak. And the kids learn from it because when one person is speaking, no one else is speaking. Everyone else is listening. So they're learning how to be a good listener as well. But I just want to tell you all briefly about who I am real quick. And I'm going to give it back to Tangi. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We were answering questions. Anybody have any questions for us?
No questions, but I do have a comment. One, I think that this is a very timely initiative. We have to reflect on what happened with the pandemic, of course, that has taken up years of our life, and we're still recovering from it, as well as what's gone on with recent events as far as social justice issues. So this Power Initiative seems to be a great intersection of both of those things, working on the whole child and dealing with the behavioral health challenges that they might have, to the extent that the district can address that need. And being able to create an ally up with law enforcement. I think that's really important, is that students sometimes see law enforcement as the other, or they believe that law enforcement sees them as the other. And the communication to actually build that partnership is critical. So I am grateful to hear that it's happening here and that you guys are still rolling it up to the high school, and that it'll be available to other students as well. So thank you for the work you're doing.
I just want to say, I think we always talk about how we're blessed with the collaboration that we have with our local government and with our police department, and we're seeing it here tonight firsthand. So I want to say thanks to Allie and to Al. You guys are rock stars for doing what you're doing, so thank you. And to Adrian and to Miss Tangi. Thank you for the collaboration with us. We really appreciate it. To you, and that please thank the chief on our behalf as well. And we really appreciate the ongoing collaboration with the township. So thank you. Go get that federal grant.
Yes.
And let us know if we can help you in any way.
She did.
J&J, specifically mentioned J&J.
I heard.
And they shared some wonderful posters, and I'll pass them around to the board members for you guys to see some pictures more closely. And
The business owners in this town are absolutely amazing. When we went to them and shared our initiative, they literally rolled out the red carpet. It was unbelievable. And that is so important, because when the children came and it was time to eat lunch, especially at the summer program, when it was time to have lunch, and it was a lunch period, 20 minutes, whatever it is in school, that's the lunch period that we had, so they get used to it.
Time management.
They walked in there, and of course we had pizza the first day, Domino's pizza, they were happy about that. The second day, they walked in there, and Taqueria from New Brunswick rolled out the carpet. When I tell you, we had chicken tacos, we had rib tacos, we even had vegetarian tacos with this Brussels sprout. I don't even like Brussels sprouts. Those things were hitting. And the kids, they walked in, they literally their faces lit up like it was Christmas Day for some of them. Yes, you deserve this. The fact that your choices are not always the best choices does not mean you don't get to partake in good things. That's one of the messages that we needed to get across to them. And we did. We got it across through food and music. See,
That'll do it.
Music does it. But yes, so I created these posters for them to hang in their businesses. And we go and we contribute to those businesses as well. And we let you know so that you can go to those businesses. And when you go and you see that poster, point it out and say something to them, thank them for, because we're going to go back and ask again. So thank them.
We will do that.
But they really embraced us, and they were really happy to, receive those. It's amazing what a little laminated paper does for.
I think it's amazing the fact, a lot of people hear me on my soapbox about students just being in their phones, right? And they need the opportunity to learn how to speak to each other and have those conversations, because I don't know that they've actually learned it as well, this generation. And I think it's a gift that you've given them that opportunity to start learning that lesson with each other, and hopefully we can begin to expand it and look for ways to grow the program. We're thrilled that we've been able to partner with all of you, and that you guys have been so open and forthright about everything and how we've grown it. And we're looking forward to what we can do in the future. So thank you so much.
Thank you all for saying yes. That was the biggest hurdle. We
Thank
just
you.
needed somebody to say yes. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Can I get a picture of everybody up front real quick, the four of you? Amy?
Oh, picture.
You're all dressed up.
The kids, I know. I went into work and everybody was like, what are you doing? That's one. Sure. You want to give me one of the posters? Oh, great.
Thank you.
I can reach you anywhere. I'm at the snack shack doing something. I'm at Linwood for basketball season. You can find me anywhere. Right next to me.
And if you need somebody to sing the national anthem, she can do it on the spot, correct?
You got me, so.
Oh, awesome. Those are beautiful.
Thank you.
National Night Out.
National Night Out Tuesday.
Oh, great.
As will we.
As will we.
As will we. We'll see you there.
So kids can start asking questions. What's that? What's that?
Okay, perfect. Great. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
See ya.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Now, if you'd like, you're welcome to stay for Mrs. Kita's presentation on the annual violence and vandalism report, because it certainly does,
No
does tie
pressure.
right in. So hopefully we can get these numbers down based on the work you've done with the Power Initiative.
Thank you guys so much.
And that was your introduction, Mrs. Kita. You are on.
Actually, I was thinking as I was listening to the power presentation, you know, I say timely and timeless. Really, it does coincide with what I'm going to review tonight. As required by the New Jersey Department of Education, we are required as a district to present to the board the annual violence and vandalism report for reporting period 2, which starts on page 13 of tonight's agenda. As usual, I do have a presentation to go along with it. And again, to really speak to a lot of what's behind the numbers, as I did with reporting period 1 a few months ago. So again, it starts on page 13 of your agenda. I'm actually going to start from the bottom up. This is the state's report, but I would like to actually start with, because I think it does really tie in again to the presentation that we just saw, the major push for different types of, whether it's HIB directly related, in terms of harassment, intimidation, and bullying, or again, that self-worth, that whole child, those types of programs that we are providing in the district, in our schools, to better our students and to better those relationships, to again, get those HIB numbers down. If you look from this reporting period 2, which is January to June, and again, as per the state, we are required to compare it to last year's reporting period 2. Notice our HIB-related programs went up significantly. We almost hit 100 just in the last 6 months of the school year, different programs, whether they were district-related by me, relayed by me, but more importantly, in the schools themselves. Same thing with our training. We made a big push to get more training out there, not only to our staff, but to parents and students who may have been involved in an HIB case. Same thing if you look at the HIB alleged cases, we did go down 5 from reporting period 2, but more importantly, although we're not required in this report to show you reporting period 1, which was July of 2022 to December of 2022, we also went down there as well. We actually decreased 10 cases from reporting period 1. And what's significant to also point out, don't forget reporting period 1, although it's from July to December, kids aren't really here in the summer. So the fact that in those last 6 months of school, we were able to go down by 10 cases, to me, as the anti-bullying coordinator for the district, is pretty significant. We, again, hope that our training and our programs, much like the one that we just saw on Power, is what is hoping to improve these numbers and get these cases down. Back to the top, the incidents, violence, vandalism, we were at 127, which was higher, and I will get to the last number in a minute. But again, we were seeing last school year, we were, although really it's kind of hard to believe that the 21-22 school year was our first full year back from COVID. And there were some, you know, we gave some leeway to a lot of things that as we transitioned kids back, we still had the mask mandate. There were a lot of real transitions going on in that 21-22 school year. One of the things that I do want to discuss is the other incidents leading to removal. Yes, it is practically double from the year before, but again, what I want to go over is look at what that incident description includes. It includes tardies, cutting class, insubordination, disruptive behavior. The majority of that number actually is from the high school. And again, now we really considered the 22-23 school year our first full year back. There was no mask mandates. We started to give that grace period and really go back to some of our roots in terms of cracking down back on tardiness, lateness to class, more importantly at the high school, school ID badges, and safety and security. And that was a big initiative at the high school this year, and they really did a great job, and it is reflected in these numbers, of issuing consequences for students who were being insubordinate and not wearing their ID badges. And again, that's a school and safety issue, and we are looking to bring that down to the other grade levels as well in our other schools. But I did want to just really point out why that number jumps out. And again, we, as a district and our schools, getting back to that normalcy and getting back to where we were before COVID, and really kind of, as Mrs. Shiroka just stated, getting kids back to that whole structure, the school structure. And again, that's what that comes down to. So I did really want to explain that number, because even for me, when I first saw it, it jumped out, and I knew why that number was bigger. But again, to me, Mrs. Shiroka, our central office cabinet, we really are happy with the programs that we are putting out. Like I said, we almost doubled them. Same thing with the trainings, and we continue to. Actually, on tonight's agenda, a couple of our deans are already registered for summer trainings that are related to HIV, social media, positive behaviors in schools, and hopefully we'll continue. I know we will continue to see the training and program numbers goes up. And again, we are hopeful that because of these initiatives, we will hopefully continue to see that HIV, the cases start to decrease as we did. We saw it decrease by 10 from the beginning of the year and 5 from last reporting period at the same time. One of the other things that I do want to point out, and I know it's in the agenda as well. Sorry, when I start walking around, I forget where I put. There are some trainings highlighted here as well, though we don't have to report that in the state report. We just have to report who we provide the trainings to. But these are some, of the initiatives that took place in the last 6 months. Again, I know I mentioned this in the prior report, but I do hold mid-year quarterly meetings with my anti-bullying specialists in each school. We go over different trainings. We do mid-year review of HIV policy and reporting procedures with the leadership teams, the school safety teams. I run with our security manager, our director of security, Mr. Miserol. We run security trainings and HIV trainings for all substitute staff every month. And again, just some of the other out-of-district workshops that we attend. And other trainings that may not be HIV specific, but again are related to student behaviors, are also up here as well. Again, we're still with our Rebound 2.0 district-led initiative, building class community. A lot of our administrative staff, especially the anti-bullying specialists who are instructional deans, offer in-house PD workshops after school as part of our extensive Flex program on positive behaviors and restorative justice. And this is required, this is in the agenda as well. The multitude of programs that occurred in those last 6 months of school. And I know it's kind of in tiny print, but you can see POWER there at the high school level. And again, really excited to see it continue to expand at the high school and the middle school as well. And lastly, we continue to expand our HIV resources, not only for our staff, but our parents. New this year, I have launched a staff-specific website just dedicated to HIV and school safety. I will be looking with the principals and my HIV specialists, how to tailor that, also more of a direct site for parents than just what's required by the state that we have. New HIV FAQs are posted on our website as well, really to help parents understand the process and how the policy works by the state. And we're just constantly looking for ways to not only help those who may be an offender, but more importantly, those who are a victim as well. So I'd like to open up for any questions at this point.
I have one question or a comment. Basically, I just would like you guys to consider one thing, and I know that you are doing many programs and initiatives to actually address this, but of course, I think that we all have a moment of pause. We're looking at the other incidents leading to removal. As you noted, they are double between last year and this year, but tardy and cutting class, if those are the offenses and it leads to removal, could we possibly start exploring other ways to address those infractions rather than removing them and where they further lose more instruction?
Yes.
So I know that is already ongoing, but I just want to say that for the board's benefit and the public's benefit, that is a consideration that we are talking about.
Yep.
Great.
Thank you.
I think the HIB FAQs is a great idea, because as we've heard, HIB is not always the clearest thing, right? I think parents, myself included as a parent, it's not always easy to understand the difference maybe between code of conduct versus HIB, which is this state thing.
Right.
So I think that will help tremendously as a resource for parents.
And thank you very much. And one of the things that Mrs. Stroke and I talked about is, we have standard letters that go home that are related to, to the cases, to the parents, is including the FAQs with the letter as well. So all that is in there for them to see, and it breaks down very easily the steps of the process, what to do after, and again, just gives those resources too. So we're hoping that will be a good source of communication between us and our families with that.
And one thing that we've also gotten feedback and we're working on for the next school year is looking at supporting the victim, right? So we've been so focused on the offender and whether they offended, and providing them with restorative practices and supports and helping them with their behaviors. But what happens to the child who is the victim and who has met with some struggles and trauma perhaps, and how can we support them a little better?
And just a quick question about the incidents, so damaging school property and then the tardiness, those two sections. So academic integrity, how is that being tracked, and what is that considered?
It's especially if it leads to removal from class, cheating.
Okay.
That's
Fancy
the
way.
formal word for it.
Okay. And then for the one damaging school property and substance abuse. So I know substance abuse, that's always a tricky subject. So in the district, when this happens, are we referring those students to for help in substance abuse programs?
Yes, it's required.
That's part of our board policies.
And are we, the different programs, are we tracking, I guess, the outcomes and seeing, tracking those students who are in these programs and seeing how they're doing once they're in there?
Yes, they are. But most of these programs actually are all school-based. But some that are specific, for example, Power. Yes, they are looking at examining the trends from those students and how they're, how what they're learning is being translated back into the classroom in the school environment.
And remember, we have SACs, student assistance counselors, substance abuse counselors at both our middle school and our high school, who work closely with our students and with Mary Ellen Engel, our nursing supervisor, and the school nurses. For instance, somebody's caught vaping and it's got THC in it. There's very clear policy and protocol on how we handle that and how we follow those students and try to pursue supports as well.
Because I know just a lot of these are state and federally mandated, but how much flexibility as a district do we have with actually the way I would say the substance abuse programs are structured? And I'm asking that just because, for example, you're saying, if students get caught either doing smoking, doing THC, or there's alcohol, are we looking at, maybe the student has depression or something, or are we just looking at it from the standpoint of hey, you did this, and are we just following clear cut to what the rules say?
I think we'd have to dig into the specific policy on that. I know, our admin look at the whole child. I mean, we follow the WISC model, right? So we try not to judge based on a specific incident, but we do have certain things that is in board policy. So we could certainly, dig into that with you so you can see
Okay,
those
thank you.
specific things. Yep.
Any other questions? It'll be included in consent agenda to approve this report later this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Keto.
For those following along, we're back on page 1. Ms. Toth, would you move on item 6 for us, please?
Yes, Mr. President. I'd like to make a motion to approve the following board minutes: conference meeting, June 7th, 2023, executive minutes, June 7th, 2023, regular public meeting, June 28th, 2023, executive minutes, June 28th, 2023.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All the minutes are accepted.
Any communications this evening?
Yes, I actually do have some communication, Mr. President.
Please.
I knew you'd be surprised. So I have a letter here from Janice Mahalik, who is a world language teacher at the middle school. She teaches German. She said, "Good morning, Janet. I just wanted to let you know that our 2023 MBTHS German exchange trip students returned Wednesday night, happy and tired from another successful trip. We spent time in Munich, along with 2 weeks with our exchange partners in Pforzheim. Our MBTHS students were excellent representatives of our school and our town, and our German partners are excited to come visit us in October." So we should think about rolling out the red carpet for them. "I would like to thank you and the Board of Education for continuing to support this exchange program. It means the world to our students and is an incredible opportunity for them not only to practice their language skills, but also to broaden their cultural competence and increase their self-confidence. We would like to give a special thank you, too, for allowing one 2023 graduate to participate in this trip after she missed out on our previous pandemic-canceled trip in 2020. The fact that we are able to offer this exchange trip is a feather on our cap for our district and our German program, as well as being a bonus for our students, and I want to thank you all for your continuing support."
Wonderful. Thank you. Any old business or new business before going to an administrative report?
No. So for my administrative report,
Thank you.
thank you. Good evening to all our families, guests, and viewers here tonight. Our Summer Academy, Institute, and Extended School Year programs are underway at MBTMS, Linwood, Judd School, and MBT ECC. They are all in person and have been running smoothly and providing strong academic support for students within fun and challenging programs. Summer Academy ends next Thursday, August 4th, and Extended School Year wraps up on August 11th. Our deepest sympathies go out to the family of Ruchi Bengali, an MBTHS rising 10th grader who passed away in mid-July. Counseling services were made available to our students, but please always remember that even though schools are closed, Empower Somerset has hotlines, emergency services, treatment services, and more available. Information can be found on our website at the MBT Schools Health and Wellness page and in info@empowersomerset.com. Although summer is in full swing for most families, our 12-month staff are busy working, preparing for the new school year in August. This includes many maintenance, repair, and cleaning projects that are ongoing. Please keep an eye out for updates on back-to-school events on our district website at mbtschools.org. And we are very much looking forward to participating in the National Night Out on Tuesday, August 1st from 5 to 8 p.m., and we hope to see many students and their families there.
Thank you. We've come to our committee reports section of the agenda. We have not had committee reports, committee meetings this past month, but I'm going to indulge our committee chairs and see if anyone wishes to address the board with any, perhaps some bullets of information that they want to share with the board, some items that may be on tonight's agenda, whatever you may wish to share in lieu of a formal committee report this evening. So maybe business ops? Ms. James?
Sure, just briefly, there are some action items that we are motioning tonight on tonight's agenda, grants and application that are relative to the Biz Ops Committee. We're accepting the E-rate final funding for fiscal year 23. There is a minor amendment to previous cost for repairs reflecting a $6,000 increase. Tonight we are motioning to approve the PEA carryover funds, as well as some miscellaneous transportation routes, and also motioning for the independent safety and security review, and that concludes my committee updates.
Thank you. Mr. Wen for HR?
Sure.
First of all, for those on tonight's agenda who are resigning, the board thanks them for their service and wishes them well. I do want to point out that out of the 78, right, certificated openings for the 2023 and 24 school year, this includes new budgeted, grant expansions, retirements, and resignations. 60 have been filled, but I think I saw, was it 61 now have been filled? Yes.
Very
We
good.
added something to that last agenda, yes. And a Spanish
Yes.
teacher.
So to all of our new staff, we welcome you warmly to the North Brunswick Township School District. And just want to say that just really congratulations to our Ms. Akita and the team for just doing such a great job bringing in new staff. With all the things we hear around the country with staff shortages, you guys are doing a great job. And
Thank
that's
you.
it.
Thank you, Mr. Wen. Dr. Patel?
Yes, thank you.
Education?
Yeah, real quick. So there was a donation of Calm Down kits that were made by the Passner family to the Special Education Department. So we wanted to thank them since this was part of their son's bar mitzvah project. And also on the agenda tonight to motion to approve is the service agreement with Lacey Bruner Capturing Kids' Hearts for a one-day professional development program on August 30th. It is it's a school-wide initiative for the high school in which they are looking to improve staff and student relations so as to have a more positive and supportive school climate for all parties. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Carter, you want to move on item number 9 for us, please?
Sure. I'd like to make a motion to approve the administrative student and committee reports.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All the reports are accepted.
Thank you. So we'll review tonight's agenda. Just as protocol as in past months, we all received this electronically. We have an updated version tonight at the dais with items in bold that have been added since that draft went out. So we'll begin again. We're already on page 2 and page 3. Page 4 and page 5. Page 6 and page 7. Page 8 and page 9. Page 10 and page 11. Page 12 and page 13. Page 14 and 15. Page 16 and 17. Pages 18 and 19. So as you can see, it's summer, but there's still a lot of work going on. 19 pages worth of agenda items to approve. At this point, if there's no further questions on tonight's agenda, we'll open it up to the public and see if anybody has any questions on agenda items only. You'll have 3 minutes at which to address the board. Seeing none, would someone please move to close this portion of the public meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The public session is closed.
Ms. James, would you please move on item 13?
Sure. I move to approve the following consent agenda items: personnel, curriculum, miscellaneous, finance items 1 through 4, policy, and transportation.
Second.
Any further discussion on consent agenda? We'll take a roll call.
Mr. Ali?
Yes, but I abstain from curriculum and instruction item P as it pertains to me.
Thank you. Mr. Carter?
Yes.
Ms. James?
Yes.
Ms. Keefe?
Yes.
Mr. Liguori?
Yes.
Dr. Patel?
Yes.
Ms. Toth?
Yes.
And Mr. Wett?
Yes, but I abstained from curriculum and instruction item 1M.
Thank you. All the motions have been approved and accepted.
Thank you. At this point, we'll open up another public session on any matter for the board this evening. Same rules apply. You'll have 3 minutes at which to address the board. Seeing none, would somebody please move to close this public portion of the meeting?
So
I
moved.
motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? This public session is closed.
We have no closed session this evening.
We do not.
I'll need a motion to adjourn this meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned.
Thank you, everybody.